When I first heard about Kickstarter, I didn't really know what to think about it. The idea of pledging money for a project that you may or may not ever get the finished product that you were pledging for. It's a bit too risky for my liking. But after hearing podcasts that I respect talk about their experience and all the cool things they were getting, I wanted to dive in. I wanted to give it a try. The first Kickstarter I ever backed happened in the spring of 2014. It was for a little card game called Pairs by a company called Cheap Ass Games. I went in for about $60, got a bunch of decks because it had some really cool art, including this one, which features the Princess and Mr. Whiffle. If you haven't ever heard of the Princess and Mr. Whiffle, you're missing out. Needless to say, this started me down a long path. And as of today, I've backed 180 different Kickstarters. The vast majority, have been successes, but there have been some failures. But nowadays, I try to kind of dial back how much I'm willing to support Kickstarters. And I only kind of keep to a couple of key companies that have a proven track record. But every now and then, somebody gets a really cool IP and gets me at least to take a look. And when that just happens to be an IP like Borderlands, now I'm interested. Board games, role-playing games, assembling and painting models and miniatures. These are my hobbies. I'm Howard the Blues, one half of the popular podcast Beer, Blues, and BS. And now join me as I rebuild my cave of wonder. Hi, everybody. Howard Blues here, and welcome back to the Cave of Wonder. And I wanted to just take a time to talk a bit about Kickstarter. We've been mentioning it a lot on the main podcast, and especially with Monster Apocalypse, that Kickstarter wrapping up and kind of my constant coverage of it. I thought it would be interesting to dive into how do I look at Kickstarter? How do I determine what projects I want to do and support and which projects I don't? As I said in the intro, I've kind of become very selective about which companies I'm willing to support and for which IPs I'm highly interested in. And I thought it'd be worth looking at. It just so happens that a new Kickstarter dropped for an IP that I absolutely love, and that is Borderlands. In fact, Borderlands is currently, I say that with the small asterisk, Borderlands is currently the video game that Kidder and I are playing through. And I mean the first Borderlands, although we have started a little bit of Borderlands 2, but mostly the main Borderlands game. We've been playing through. And having a lot of fun with it. I love the game. From the writing, the humor, the art style is just, and I'd be lying if I said I hadn't been looking for miniatures to proxy in for Borderlands characters. So there's a new board game up on Kickstarter, although it's a little old by the time I get around to this due to lots of busy life things and tech issues. So what I thought I would do is let's take a look at this Kickstarter and go through it. And I want to just take some time to reflect on what I am seeing and not. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at this page, so a good chance to kind of go through it and maybe share with you how I analyze a Kickstarter and determine whether it deserves my hard-earned money. So let's pull this up, take a look, and give it a good once over. Here we have it up. So looking at this, a couple of things for me to look at. They're sitting at just under $1 million, 7,000 backers, 15 days to go. So not a lot of time left. I'm recording this on the 7th. It is going to wrap up December 23rd at 1 p.m. Central Time. So there's still quite a bit of time left. Such, however, let's kind of dive into something right away that kind of always irks me a little bit with Kickstarter. These guys did a special promotion if you backed in the first 48 hours, which is great if you knew about this Kickstarter. I did not know about it until it had already launched, and so I missed out on that early bird purchase, which would have gotten me a free expansion, which the completionist in me, it's like, I would end up picking this up, but it kind of bugs me. They have a current deal going on where if you back this through December 13th, you will get Steve the Psycho added for free. Otherwise, I believe he's like a $10 purchase. So they're trying to get people to back early and quickly on this. It's one of those things. I will give Mythic Games a lot of kudos on this, on the Monster Apocalypse Kickstarter. They actually had their, they didn't do you only have 48 hours to get this thing. Instead, what they did was they made it, hey, if you actually just back during the campaign, we'll give you these cool things for free. And I loved that new method because, it doesn't seem like much, but it does encourage me to back during a campaign, but it also gives me more time to think about it. I've had some Kickstarters where you jump in and you grab it right away so that you get that free thing. So it's just that fear of missing out or having to pay more for it. So let's dive into this. Now, there is always the video, and I will say the video is one of the least likely things that I dive into or watch. I've never found much value in the video. Sometimes they tell you a lot. Sometimes they tell you too much. Sometimes they're goofy and such. So I haven't even watched the video for this, and I'm not probably going to. But it's just to put it in my analysis, I look at that. So scrolling down, okay, a couple more things before we even dive into it that I kind of look at. I look at the number of updates that there's been. There's been 6 updates. This project has reached nearly $1 million, and there's only 6 updates. That worries me a little bit. It makes me question, how much communication is going to happen throughout that, because communication is always key. You want to know what stuff's going on. It does have 2,333 comments, which I'll come back to the general tone of those because I have spent more time in the comments sections. I always like to see, is it an active community that's interested in it? It sometimes just tells me what's the general interest, what's the likelihood that this game is going to maybe live on beyond the Kickstarter. I look at the company. So this is from Monster Fight Club, who I have not heard of. And they have created 6 Kickstarters in the past. So that can be a good thing, because that can tell me that they have clearly done a Kickstarter, they've been successful at it, so they have a history of success with that. Although that's not always a guarantee. I thought the same thing about Ninja Division and Soda Pop Miniatures with their games, and clearly they've skunked me on Super Dungeon Explorer, the newest version on that. I still haven't seen anything from that. So number of, that they've created can have some effect on it. It's a little bit more of a pro to me to see that they've had some success. I would be a little worried. Borderlands is a big IP, so I hope this is something that they can keep up with, because I think it could have a lot of interest. So, something I always look at. Okay, we talked about this, the bonus pledge, or the bonus thing, if you get in before December 13th, you get Steve the Psycho. So let's move on. And I haven't really looked at a lot of this page, so you're kind of getting my first reaction. So it looks like they have some stuff here from Torg. I don't even think I said it. The actual game, it's not just Borderlands, it's Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery is what it is. Okay. So let's see what he says here. Let's get this out of the way, Vault Hunter. I have no effing idea what this is, so I found a goddamn monster that fights shit and told it to make me a game that will blow this mother effer up. Now you get an entire badass arena badassery to murder stuff in. I get that they're going for comedy here, but that's a little alarming when it's that. Okay, I might be overthinking that, but a little worrying when it's, I don't know what this is. And yeah. So here we're getting to look at kind of the first kind of glimpse of the contents. Sees that it has miniatures. It's using a hex grid system. There appear to be cards, tokens, dice. Okay. Here's some key things right here that I always look at. So the time. So it's got a 60-minute play time. That's good. It's on the shorter end of things. Maybe not the super short. I mean, there are games that I have that are like 5-10 minutes. But it, for what I would hope for a big meaty game, 60 minutes, not bad. Ages 13 up. Yeah, don't worry about that. I play mostly with adults. Player count 1 to 4 players. So that does worry me a bit. And I say that because my current play group that I tend to play with, there's 6 of us. So it means that this game less likely to get to my table with that. Not to say that it's impossible. It's just a little bit harder when it's, there's 6, then it's like, well, we can't play this. So, but I haven't looked at it really. Maybe there's expansions that allow for more players. I doubt it though, because Borderlands, when you think about it, is a 4-player game. So makes sense. Let's read this paragraph here. Welcome to Borderlands, Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery, an officially licensed cooperative board game for 1 to 4 players, in which you and your friends must defeat the hordes of bandits, skags? I like skags, but we'll go skags. And other challenges Mr. Torg throws at you to prove you are ultimate badasses. So I do like that it's cooperative. That's a good thing. My game group tends to play cooperatives a little bit better than competitives. So it's good to know. This is like the 3rd time they've mentioned Steve the Psycho. Interesting. Okay. But it looks like we're diving into pledges right away. So which is a good thing to look at. I want to know what I'm getting at each pledge level, because I want to figure it out. Not that I have a set in stone hobby budget, but I kind of know what I can get away with and such. And I'd like to know what this could cost me. So the Arena Casualty, it's $85. Looks like you get the core game, 45 miniatures, and it looks like, what is this, 6 Vault Hunters? So, and you'll have to, as I said, I mostly played the first Borderlands. I haven't dove as far, but I see Mordecai here, which when I've played Borderlands solo, I tend to play as Mordecai, so that's cool. His pet Bloodwing, Salvador, character when we've played Borderlands 2. We have Amara, Maz, Iron Bear. So it looks like it's a variety between the three main Borderlands. Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3. One of them might be from the sequel, but again, I haven't played those, so I couldn't tell you exactly. Then we get into our villains. It looks like we have quite the different set. A lot of psychos I'm seeing. Cool. Even the little guys with shotguns. Skags. Rule book with campaign. Okay, so there's a campaign element to this. That could be good. It could also be bad. I tend to like campaigns. It allows you to build, lets me know that there's maybe some role-playing elements to this. I don't tend to like it, though, because it's harder for me to get a campaign completely played. Over 80 double-sided hexes. Depending on how the game setup goes, that could either be a good thing or a bad thing. If it is a campaign and has specific scenarios with specific maps, having to flip over 80 different hexes, I mean, that means that there's 160 sides. So to find the particular hex that you need, that could make for some long setup. Yeah, that I understand that it makes it so that you can flip things around, but I don't necessarily like that. Looks like we get a slew of tokens. There's our Vault Hunters, tokens, loot bag, and dice. Over 400 cards. Okay, that's a good chunk of cards. Looks like we have guns, the ammo dump, Dr. Zed's meds, and Torque. So I'm wondering if these work like the vending machines in the game where you can buy and switch out guns. And then there are 3 decks down here. This looks like a random encounters deck. Announcements. I'm wondering if that's like challenges and such. And this thing here, I'd almost wonder if that's not your AI deck for controlling the bad guys. But we'll find out. So the Arena Casualty Pledge includes 1 copy of Mr. Torque's Arena of Badassery board game. Can't handle the full loot explosion? You should have worked your pecs. That means that the Arena Casualty Pledge does not get the free stretch goals. Oh, okay. So that means that any stretch goals unlocked you don't get at this basic pledge. I'm just going to say from a Kickstarter design thing, I don't like that it's in this slightly gray text under this. That seems like a detail that's pretty easy to miss. And I get that you're trying to go for something cute here, funny, but having backed a lot of these, clarity is truthfully more important, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of people asking a lot of questions over and over and over again because they can't find that information in this page. So cute, but yeah. So let's see, in the core box, we said the 6 Vault Hunter and companion miniatures, 39 enemies. So there's a Psycho Reaver, 2 badass Psychos, 2 Goliaths, 2 Raging Goliaths, 4 Shotgun Tinks, 4 Suicide Psychos, 4 Adult Skags, 8 Marauders, 12 Basic Psychos. 48-page rule book with campaign. I'm going to hope that that rule book is mostly campaign with only a little bit of rules. I'm kind of hoping that it's a simpler system. Over 80 hex styles, I kind of give my take on that. Pile of tokens, token loot bag, base rings to represent alternative enemies. Okay, so you might put a ring on to represent a different variation of your psycho or such. Because there are things like bomber psychos in the game and such. So I can see that. Vault Hunter skill tree dashboards. Okay, so there's some leveling up. such. Over 400 cards, including Vault Hunters, Enemies, Spotlight, Announcements, Events, Zeds, Meds, Ammo Dump, Torque Legendary Guns, 10 Reaction Dice. I wonder what Reaction Dice are. I'm hoping that they're going to explain that. So True Badass is the other pledge level. It's $135, 73 total miniatures. So what makes this different? So far, the same core set. So we can kind of go through this. Okay, so you're going to get Skags at the Gates expansion. Comes with 40 new double-sided hexes. Not gonna lie, those look a lot like they're the same hexes, just more of them. Here's kind of interesting. We're getting a bit of that layout, and I can see that yes, you're going to build some maps. I don't know again how specific that is. So that's the Big Game Hunt campaign. New game cards, 15 miniatures. Okay, so this looks like some various different Skags. And then here are those stretch goals. So let's see what they've unlocked. Krieg the Vault Hunter. So that's, Krieg the Psycho. Okay. Psycho Pose 3, Scar Bounty. Hey, Claptrap. If I pick this up, this would be the third Claptrap model I own. I actually own a couple that I got from somewhere. Actually, it's a company that's no longer in business, if I recall. Marauder Pose 2. So they did some of these alternative poses, which I'm never really a big fan of that because that's something you know that they have, and it's just always kind of a weak stretch goal for me. Shiv Bounty, the Headshot Psycho. Oh, this is from the game cover. It's the famous Psycho with the finger guns that then has the art that comes out. So model like that, that's cool. Free Vending Machine. There's Maya, the Vault Hunter, Loot Goon Goliath, Psycho Pose 4, Scrappy Bounty, Lilith, SpongeBob Bullet Pants. I do love the humor in Borderlands. Free Tire Pile, Zero the Vault Hunter, Claptrap Loot Bag, Badass Marauders. Okay, that's cool. Face McShooty, Brick. Hey, so when I play with Kidder in Borderlands, Brick is my character. There's just some bit of glee and joy I get from using his power and just running up and punching people in the face, especially some of the big bosses, like when you get to like Skagzilla. I mean, how great is this giant lizard and you're just running creature, you're just running up and punching it. It's basically that. There's the Fish Stick campaign, Tiny Tina Vault Hunter, Crumpets and Za campaign, and the Psycho Tink enemy model. Okay, so pretty much that. Let's get to the optional buys. So there's the Robot Revolution for $45. So this looks like a whole bunch of the different Claptraps. 4 Kamikaze, 6 Punk Stabby, 8 Partisan, Crush the Revolution campaign, 40 new double-sided hexes. Again, it looks like it's the same pile, so I'm hoping that's some difference. Game cards. Okay. It's in about the same line as the Skags at the Gates. 10, a few more models in this, 18 versus the 15. So, yeah. 19 miniatures, 1 intergalactic ninja assassin Claptrap. Okay, so yeah, I missed him. Okay. Tink Camp. This is for $30. Let's see, there's a Loot Tink, 4 Psycho Tinks, 4 Shotgun Tinks. This is some terrible layout because here's 3 of your Shotgun Tinks, and there's a 4th one up here. I don't know why you wouldn't just put those all together, but game cards and scenarios. So here's, this one's 30. So this is 45. So for $15 more, you're getting a campaign and tiles. This one has a because bounty scenarios and cards, but yeah. Interesting. Steve the Psycho, we've talked about him enough. So the Ravenous Wattle Gobbler. So this was the expansion that came for free. And it's got a price tag of $20. So, but basically 4 models, some game cards, and a digital scenario. So no real rule book. Let's just say, only a true badass can eat grandma's pie, Vault Hunter. Did you figure out innuendo, Sugar? I have no idea what you're talking about. Interesting. Okay. So 4 miniatures, 20 game cards, digital scenario. Okay. So Skog at the gates. Hey, there's Skogzilla. So we kind of looked at that. There's acrylic tokens. These are one of the things that I know it's always fun to bling out your game. And yes, acrylic tokens are cool. They hold up really well. But sometimes, especially when there's a lot of expansions that are costing a lot, not always worth it. Then there's the Monster Fight Club Objective Pack. Comes with 6 terrain pieces for $30. That means each model is like $5. Here's what's interesting to me, because there's 6 models and it's $30, but for 20? Is that what this one was? Yeah, 20 for this one, which had 4 models and game cards. So something seems a little off in their pricing to me. And then we have this one, it's 8 barrels and 7 tires for $30. So even this is more than that. I mean, I'm going to guess there's some difference in the size of it, but this is a loot explosion. So, okay, so 60-page campaign supplement includes all the unlocked digital scenarios and campaigns in printed format. So what I'm picking up is all of the, so there's a bunch of apparently digital scenarios in here, and instead of printing it out, they're just putting them out as PDF. And if you want it in an actual printout, it's $10. I'm not a big fan of PDF stuff, especially rules for games like this, because that means I have to keep those PDFs somewhere. I do have a Kindle that I use for PDFs and things like that, but it's only got so much room on it. And it means that I have to try and put it in a folder and then remember which folder it's in and how to access it whenever I want to play the game. I'm not a big fan of that. Okay. So how to play. So there's a how to play video. There's the rule book, so I can download that and look at that. Okay, the reaction system. So I was curious what this was. So let's do a little reading here. Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery is built on Monster Fight Club's innovative reaction system. Vault Hunter's actions are represented by colored dice: red D6, a yellow D8, green D12, and black D10 is called the black D10 is called the obstacle die. It is used to generate target numbers when making opposed rolls, while the D purple is used as a randomizer for many special rules. Okay. When performing an action, a player's roll must equal or exceed the target. No, well, let's read this example. So, for example, the Vault Hunters in the core game have an action pool of 2 yellow d8s dice and 1 green die. Okay, so that's their. Okay, so that's what their dice pool is. When performing an action, the player's roll must equal or exceed the target number, typically the enemy's defense. In order to be successful, to make the roll, the player chooses from the pool of available action dice, choosing whichever color they think is the best chance to succeed. The player rolls the die and adds their relevant skill, melee, ranged, attack, agility, etc. The result, along with any relevant modifiers from the game, such as for equipment or skills improvements. The total is then compared to the target number to determine the outcome of the action. So here, this example, Salvador has spent a yellow action dice, represented by the crossed out action tokens, that must be this. To attack the Psycho, he rolls a 5 on the yellow reaction die. He adds his ranged crosshairs score. Okay, so that's this here. To the result for a total of 7 is compared to the Psycho's defense shield icon of 6. So right there, but I blew it up here, so 6. This will exceed the Psycho's defense, resulting in a hit. Okay. Wounds. Action dice also serve as the Vault Hunter's wounds. For each point of damage the Vault Hunter suffers, they must replace 1 green or yellow die with a red d6. If a red die must be replaced, the Vault Hunter is out of action and must spend cash to be reconstructed at the nearest new use station. So much like the game, in that sense. Movement, Vault Hunters spend action dice to move. The number of hexes they move depends on what dice they spend. Green is 3 hexes, yellow is 2 hexes, red is 1 hex. Okay. Great job, Vault Hunter. You figured out how to kill shit, but without explosions, your accomplishments mean nothing. Okay. Blowing stuff up happens in scenarios, which is the backbone of Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery. Each scenario provides you with details on how to set up the arena, game board, enemies, spawning rules. Okay, so that makes sense. These are some of the decks. So let's read here. The announcement deck. Enemies are controlled by the announcement deck. Okay, so this announcement deck actually is your AI deck. Every enemy turn, players flip 1 announcement card and follow the orders given from top to bottom. So like on this one, I need your face. They'll move, they'll do a ranged attack, and then the Vault Hunter furthest from a new use station runs out of ammo. Okay. In terms of spawning locations, enemies focus their actions on whichever Vault Hunter is currently in the spotlight. So where's the spotlight here? At the beginning of the game, each Vault Hunter draws a random spotlight card. When a Vault Hunter meets the conditions on their spotlight card, they receive the spotlight token and will likely get really effed up during the enemy turn. Managing which Vault Hunter currently has the spotlight is an important part of achieving victory. So what do they give as an example here? Like watching a train wreck. When you roll a fumble on an attack, gain the spotlight token. So if you miss, or I'm guessing. Then we have, okay, so this random deck is your event deck. Events force Vault Hunters to think on their feet and respond to new challenges. Events can be beneficial, such as Vault Hunters refreshing an action dice, but are normally challenges such as giving enemies incendiary ammo, extra attacks, or spawning a mini boss, which will turn you into frothy pink slush. So like this one, learn to take a punch. All Vault Hunters are out of ammo. This one, what's the title on it? It's Hopelessly Lost. The Vault Hunter with the spotlight may choose to use a ready action token if it does not place it adjacent to the closest new use station. Okay. And then it looks like we have different loot tokens. As you kill enemies, they explode into delicious piles of loot, represented by loot tokens. Loot tokens are drawn blindly from the loot bag and placed on the hex the enemy occupied to be picked up by the Vault Hunters. Some tokens, like guns, can be used for immediate effect, while others remain in the Vault Hunter. Okay. Bounties are a special type of loot token taken at the end of the game. A bounty card is drawn with a unique enemy. In bounty hunt scenario, vault hunters can choose to pursue the bounty for their next scenario to earn extra rewards. So I'm guessing that a campaign is made up of several games. So I'm wondering if that hour mark, is that per game or is that per campaign? I'm going to guess it's per game. I wonder how long campaigns are. Vending machines after the game. Okay, looks like you can then purchase from there. The different vending machines. Skill trees. As a Vault Hunter completes scenarios, they will level up and gain new abilities on their skill tree. A Vault Hunter must unlock a skill on a lower tier before they can unlock one on a higher tier. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Bosses. Fighting a boss is a final challenge in a campaign and will determine if they're actually the badass you claim they are. Bosses have profile cards like an enemy. However, they also possess an action card with unique ways to maim and dismember you. Unique announcement deck and event. Okay. Oh, there's lots of loot. The loot explosion. So there's playthrough video. Stretch goals we've kind of looked at, but let's see, what are they working on? Here's good old Brick. Oh. So it looks like that loot explosion supplement is now a like it comes free. To both arena casualty. So if you pledge, then you get it. Okay, well, that's not bad. So 1 million is Roland, and then 1,020,000 is King Wee Wee. Zane is at 1,500,000. And then shipping. So shipping is one of the other things I look at. So right now, and this is without the optional buys. Arena Casualty will be $17 to $22 if you're in the United States. True Badass, 22 to $25, and that'll go up if you're adding in some of those add-ons. Not really happy with the with kind of the amount of information. Well, I'm not happy really with the pricing on this. I think that some of the I think that there's something off with some of their pricing on some of these. And kind of for what you get. Let's take a peek into the comments section, shall we? This can be dangerous. See what the general attitude is. So yeah, this guy, let's see, I'm concerned with the low visibility from the Monster Fight Club. Is that what the name of the company was? Is making this here on the forums, going big time when they attend PAX convention. So anytime prepping for that, I think we can just. So the other people, it seems like, don't really like the communication level. Got some good event today. Goodwill. Still have just over 2 weeks left. Why did it take so long to put together such a lengthy update that answered so few questions? Your avoidance of the main questions seems to be due less to ignorance and inexperience, which would be reason enough to be weary of this project, than to deliberately avoiding the issues, which is a red flag. So far, in this backer's opinion, the creators' seeming lack of competence and their relative indifference towards the concerns of the backers are undermining my confidence in this. So this is an individual who's not Feel happy with it. Why is it cheaper to buy the Arena Casualty Pledge and the Skags the Gate expansion separately than the True Badass Pledge? I'm very confused. He's not working in the stretch goals. But I mean, like I said, there's something not right with their pricing, and this guy I think has it. It's weird. Basically, to get the stretch goals, you have to purchase one specific add-on and pay extra $5. Yeah. Let's see. So far, 220 of the stretch goals are dedicated to digital scenarios and campaigns, asking $10 more to put them in the box. This is not a badass move. I can't see how all the online. So people not really liking that. Forget to ask, but I backed within the last 48 hours is the one. A whole lot of negativity comments. I can sympathize with a couple of complaints and won't be able to sway anyone from their opinions. A hopeless venture on the internet, but allow me to share my 2 cents. So folks interested in the game are treating it like just a board game, and technically it is. But unlike most board games, this game has fully sculpted miniatures that are 30mm scale, noticeably larger than any board game I've played. The 100. This guy is really kind of going on justifying things. I'm going to kind of... Let's just see what some of the responses are. No. Yeah, so he's kind of basically just saying that the models are worth it. Sorry, but I don't think the product is a fair comparison to tabletop war games or the quality of Games Workshop minis. And this is no Gloomhaven. I would agree with that. Not that I'm a big fan of Gloomhaven, but yeah, comparing this to Gloomhaven is some kind of crime. This is an advanced version of Zombicide, which isn't a bad thing, but get your comparisons right or it undermines your argument. Yeah. Another, you can't compare Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven has 95 scenarios for $100. This game has 12 for $135. Again, not wrong. So, a lot of people kind of just saying who he's picking. Let's kind of strip down. Very solid looking game, a lot of beloved IP, but this campaign is being run very poorly. You will tank whatever goodwill you have if you don't add a lot of clarity via updates, text. So it seems like people are having a lot of communication issues with this. Tiles in core game expansions, what do they do? What's the example of a finished one? Do they have terrain effects just for looks, skill trees? How many does each character have? Expansions value in general, very pricey and unclear what they do beyond more stuff. It falls into that. More videos, you have just one on $1 million campaign. Yeah. You keep using graphics of Vault Hunters not in the game. Unless you 100% are adding in Flack, then don't put him up there. That's a... extra dice separator of some kind. Okay. So it looks like I'm kind of picking up some general tones. Lastly, your pricing is out of whack. Stretch goals, $85 for a core pledge with no goals feels like a ripoff, but you're already at almost $1 million, so you either don't care or it's gone to your heads, but in any case, it's a bum move. Many campaigns simply offer core goals, then deluxe ones. Surely you could throw a few in the core and leave the fancy stuff to deluxe, aka True Badass. In case, yeah. So people are kind of questioning the finances on this as well. This campaign has left such a sour taste in my mouth from the get-go. What's his name? Yeah. So interesting comments and such. So there you have it. That's the Borderlands game out there, Mr. Torque's Arena of Badassery. To give kind of my final thought on this as I wrap this up. Currently, I have it marked as saved. I'm not in on this one as of yet. And maybe I will be. But I right now I'm not feeling good about it. And that's sad. I love Borderlands. I have been looking for Borderlands-esque miniatures to paint for a long time and would love to paint these up. If these guys had a just the miniatures pledge, done. I'm in. I would love just the miniatures. The game itself seems to just be a horde mode. So with maybe some story, I think that one commenter put it best. It looks like it's a zombicide. A little bit maybe more complex zombicide, but it looks like zombicide. And I have zombicide. I have a lot of zombicide. I don't need more zombicide in my life. I really don't. So I'm torn. There seems to be something wonky with the pricing structure of it. I will admit, I was looking at the comments earlier today and seeing a lot of this negativity that you see, and it seems to be a couple of things. It really does seem to be communication, the pricing structure, and there was a lot of claims of this being a cash grab, and it wouldn't be the first time I've seen a campaign like that. There was a campaign for Rackham's Confrontation that was a couple years ago, and I was excited. Rackham made beautiful miniatures. I have 2 of the Rackham miniatures. By the time that I kind of got into miniature painting, Rackham was disappearing, and I didn't have enough to buy a lot of them, which is sad because they were gorgeous, gorgeous miniatures. And I looked at that campaign for a long time, and it was like $328 for a bunch. And my gut just eventually told me, it's like, there's something wrong here. And I bailed, which I'm glad I did, because the people who ran that campaign are being charged with fraud in France. So you got to look at that stuff. And I'm a little bit worried if the people in the comment section, and there are people in that comment section who are reading this stuff and analyzing it and poring over everything, if they're having issues, I think I would have issues. So I'm really torn. I love the idea of the miniatures. The game, so far, I don't know enough about it. I might investigate it more, but there's not a hook. So for right now, I have my things set as saved. I'm going to try and maybe come back in before the 13th and make a true decision. Just because if I can save $10, I can save $10. I have a hard time with it right now. I think right now I'm leaning more towards pass, unfortunately, and maybe trying to pick it up later in some discount bin. But for right now, that's where I kind of am sitting. So anyway, I hope that you found this at least somewhat interesting, whether you tuned in to see the Kickstarter, or if we're just interested in how I analyze a Kickstarter. Here you go. This is my process. I probably spend a little bit more time reading. I probably will dive into the rule book for sure. But right now, I do not have a good feeling about this one. There's something, my spidey sense is tingling, and I just don't know. So anyway, I wish I was leaving you on a more positive note, because I'm this close to Borderlands miniatures, and that's a sad thing that I may probably pass on this. But anyway, I know I've been talking for quite a while. The old voice needs a little vocal lubrication, as Skitter would say. So thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you down here in the cave again in the future.